So here is Eton on day 75, and again there's going to be a gap kind of in the Mustang videos because I've had to travel with my other competition horses. So here's Eton, and I'm working on ground tying and grooming him in the hallway, and this is really good for him because he really likes when everything is exactly the same. So I have to make sure I kind of try to change it up a little bit. And then I've got my working student who's tacking up Fledge, so he's a little bit out of his comfort zone, but just going through and working on grooming him and going through that process, picking up his feet. And then I make sure that I reward him, but when he goes to move back, I try to reset him and then give him a rub. And groom the other side. He's starting to get really good about the consistency, and then working on just a little bit of dropping his head just a little. I'm not really putting much weight on the pole of his head, just a little bit of pressure. And I get a little lick and chew. Now he was really good right there because there was a water bottle that flew up underneath his feet. And I was actually very proud of how well he handled his emotions for that. And then I'm going to bring him back up. Now, one thing that I've done is he has been with Fledge a lot. Fledge is a very good influencer, and he's really helped Eton with the energy and slowly building up his confidence. So it's nice to have Fledge around for if Eton gets all worried. Fledge is pretty cool dude. So again, working more on the grooming. I think it's really important to spend a lot of time with them grooming, and I like to do it a lot. So, and he's doing pretty good for this session. Again, this is the first time I've asked him to kind of ground tie in the middle of the hallway, and for him, the stimuli of having to deal with my working student Rachel, kind of walking back and forth, is good for him. So anytime he kind of goes to wiggle or move, I just kind of reset and then ask him to stand. So he handles the spray bottle really well, and again, I like to kind of go back and place my hand on the top of his pole again. I kind of do this exercise a couple of times during this grooming session just to help initiate a little bit of release or get him to drop his head, even if it's just a smidge. And then working on brushing his tail. He's still not completely comfortable with his exercise. He goes to leave. And then I just, when he gets a little uncomfortable, go back and ask him to stand. And then go back to brushing his tail. So again, I'm going to ask him for a little drop in his head just to help see if I can get a little bit of softness to my touch. I'm working on picking up his feet. Again, I have him in the middle of the hallway, which is different than normal. And then working on positioning the foot as the farrier would hold it. And then kind of manipulating his leg, getting him to stretch it out. Just building up that trust a little bit for him to give me his foot and to allow me to do that are good steps forward. So again, I reposition him. Come to the back leg. Generally, I say a cue a foot when I ask for the foot, and I'm just slowly building up to being able to put and pick up the hind leg like the farrier does. So I kind of start in little baby steps, just allowing that hind leg to touch my body. And go to the other side with the front foot. Again, kind of like playing around with how the farrier would do it. He handles that pretty well. Don't want to do it for very long. Well, I like to do that pretty quick the first couple of times. You don't want them to get anxious or worried and then to pull away from you. So the more I can keep those sessions really quick and positive, the better. I wanted to move them. I get some weird light in this barn, so I wanted to move him over just a little bit. And again, he's handling it really well with Rachel, kind of doing things with Fledge. But again, Fledge is his confident buddy, so it always helps having Fledge around. Working on the back hind. Gets a little, but not bad. It was really, really good. And then I'm going to go back to asking him to drop his head a little bit. And again, I'm not really putting a lot of pressure. I'm not squeezing. I'm just allowing kind of the weight of my hands on his head and neck. And then we got a nice lick and chew. So now here's Eton with one of our sessions in the round pen, and I have Fledge as well with us. And just doing a little bit of play. So of course Fledge is going to help. He's a pretty good teacher, I have to say. Now doing just a little work with Eton now, getting him to follow. And now we're working on our backing. And again, I don't mind. He kind of sticks a little bit to Fledge, but I can work a little bit with this. Fledge is used to just standing there while I do some work until he wants some attention of his own. I've also found that playing with the trained horses, like here with Fledge, getting him to lift a leg, the other horses watch that, and I've had a couple just have learned it just by watching the other horses. So again, Fledge is such a good influence, and I can't say it enough times. He's really helped me out a lot with Eton. And so now I'm getting Eton to come to me. Working on walking around the pen a little bit. And he's much, much better. Head is more level. Neck is more horizontal. And go through, and again with him, anything that's a little different. So working on touching. Get a nice lick and chew. Now we're moving the haunches and then move the forehand. Getting some better crossover steps. Here he got a little worried. That's okay. He gets a little tense and worried when he gets unsure. There was a really good step. Now working on the backup. He kind of goes out to the right a little bit when I ask him to back up. But again, it's all about the try and teaching the try. And this way he does some really good crossover steps for his pivot. So I did about a half a pivot and then a back. Got a little worried with Fledge back there, but it's good practice backing into things. It's probably for him his biggest confidence issue is, again, things behind him. Which, to be fair, is to be warranted. Now working on picking up our feet at liberty in the round pen. And give him a little minute here to enjoy his rub. which I think he just wanted rubs for a little bit, but I got to work on the back, which is, again, where he gets a little uncomfortable. I'm just talking to him a little bit. I have to kind of wiggle that leg a little bit, and then he relaxes some. Because again, I've done this a million times in the barn, but working it a little different in the paddock at Liberty, he gets still a little nervous. So then we go and take some time here. Work the right side. Playing around with the feet. And now just moving towards the back foot, and I'm really happy with how this session is going with them. He's been really good, really quiet. And pick up the last hind leg, which I found, again, really helps in building the trust. He gets a little worried when I clap to reward him, but I ended the session there as he came in for a rub, and he was really good.